The brutality of Alex Eala's retaliation against Aryna Sabalenka was captured on tape. Months ago, an angry handshake turned into a full-fledged feud that no one anticipated. It was about pride, atonement, and demonstrating that skill could subdue power, not just about winning a match. Every serve seemed like a statement when the two reconnected under the bright lights. Each point conveys a message. However, the events of that evening stretched well beyond tennis. It turned into a lesson in control, anger, and retaliation. For Alex Eala, this was more than simply a game, it was retaliation. It all started on a muggy evening in the bright lights of Dubai a few months ago. With the same calm determination that had propelled her to junior titles and national prominence, Alex Eala took the court. Aryna Sabalenka was standing across the net. She was fiery, strong, and self-assured. It was a collision of universes rather than merely a competition. Experience versus youth. Raw ferocity versus calm precision. The energy was tremendous from the very first serve. Eala's elegance and court sense responded to Sabalenka's force, which tore through the air like thunder. It felt balanced for a while until Sabalenka started her psychological ploy. She grinned in between points. She may have celebrated too loudly. And Sabalenka's scowl over the net told it all as Eala missed a simple return. This is not where you belong. Frustration started to creep in around the second set. Eala seemed to carry the weight of expectation with every shot she made. Instead of the emerging star who was still figuring things out, the audience applauded the huge names. Cameras focused on her eyes, which broke as they zoomed in. Sabalenka was adept at using that. She moved around the baseline with the authority of someone who had already written the conclusion, laughed after winners, and yelled after aces. The moment that altered everything then arrived. Eala used all of her strength to fight through 3 deuces. However, Sabalenka finished it with a devastating forehand winner down the line in her typical, daring manner. With her racket loose in her fingers, Eala stood motionless as the crowd surged. The tension was palpable as they walked over to shake hands. Leaning in, Sabalenka uttered a whisper that was only partially captured by the microphones. "Welcome to the big leagues, kid." Then there was the smug, contemptuous grin that millions of people would watch repeatedly on the internet for days. Eala made an effort to grin back, but her eyes conveyed a different message. Humiliation, annoyance, and something more profound raged beneath that composed countenance. A silent pledge. Eala stayed away from the cameras back in the locker room. Her phone kept buzzing as she sat silently with a towel over her head. Videos of the handshake had gone viral. Every frame was analyzed by fans. While some praised her poise, others made fun of her quiet. One comment said, "Sabalenka showed her who's boss." Another said, "Give the girl some time. You'll see." Eala went through it all that evening. Every highlight, every tweet, every dig about her lack of expertise. She refrained from crying. She refrained from snapping. She just observed. Repeatedly because something had changed inside of her. She was not crushed by the loss. She was carved by it. Even sleep couldn't obscure the objective it engraved. She started mentally going over each point again, not as errors but as blueprints. Every missed opportunity turned into a lesson. Sabalenka's smirks served as fuel. She disappeared from view during the course of the following few days. No interviews. No instructional videos. Nothing to say. However, those who knew her well saw the shift. Her rallies became more intense and her workouts lengthier. She ceased sharing inspirational quotes and began putting them into practice. While observing her from the other side of the court, one of her instructors muttered, "Revenge. She is currently motivated by that." He was correct since, starting that evening, every drop of perspiration, every repeat, and every bruise on her hand had the same name. Sabalenka. The cameras were unaware of it at the time. The fans were unprepared for it. However, Alex Eala would not be a rising star when she and Aryna Sabalenka took the court again. It would resemble a storm. Alex Eala vanished after that night in Dubai, not from tennis, but from loudness. There were no news conferences, interviews, or social media posts, just quiet. However, something strong was developing within that quiet. Revenge is best served cold, they said. Eala wanted it earned. She practically and symbolically disappeared while the rest of the tennis world moved on. Her training base moved to Mallorca, where routine became into an obsession and days turned into nights. Sessions that lasted 6 hours became 8. Battles emerged from matches versus practice partners. She was cutthroat, intense, and unwavering, and coaches claimed they had never seen her like this before. Eala referred to it as unfinished business, but her team called it the rebuild. Each morning began before the sun came up. With her eyes closed, she would stand at the baseline and mentally relive the handshake, Sabalenka's sly smile, and the whisper that whispered, "You're not ready." She was not driven by rage. It had a purpose. She had no desire to ruin Sabalenka. She desired to outdo her. The change was mental as well as physical. She observed Sabalenka's serve rhythm, her breathing prior to a forehand, and the way she covered up drop shots. Eala prepared to comprehend her, not just to play her once more. She told herself in a whisper, next time, each time she missed a shot during practice. Once, after 5 hours on the court, her coach attempted to stop her. Eala just said, "She trains longer," looking up. He didn't argue once more. The sports community started to take notice of her absence. Fans were curious about her whereabouts. Rumors circulate. She's hurt. She's exhausted. She no longer feels confident. Those who had witnessed her throughout training, however, were aware of this. There was a fire. It was simply concealed, ready to burst at the appropriate time. Then a video appeared online one afternoon. A teammate shared a brief training video. Each of Eala's powerful serves reverberates through the empty indoor court like thunder. It just said, "She's coming back stronger," in the caption. It became viral in a matter of hours. Comments such as, "She looks different," came in. "Her concentration is astounding." Is Sabalenka the subject of this? It was never verified by Eala. She didn't have to. The narrative was conveyed via the eyes. More deliberate, colder, and sharper. Her colleagues also observed the change. The girl who had doubted her own timing was now demanding perfection. The person who once grinned under duress now gazed through it. She replied, "Find me her bracket," when her coach asked if she was prepared to resume the tour. And that's precisely what fate did. The Madrid Open WTA draw was dropped a few weeks later. Sabalenka and Eala are in the same section. A quarterfinal matchup was certain if they both made it. The internet went crazy. It was dubbed the revenge run by sports media. Can Eala redeem herself against the Titan? Was the headline. Eala remained silent. She merely trained. She didn't post or comment. However, beneath the serene exterior, her heartbeat accelerated. This was it, she knew. The script was writing itself, and the path had looped back. The woman who had formerly made fun of her would now have to deal with an unexpected version of Eala. She whispered softly, this time no fear, as she gazed into the mirror in the locker room prior to her first game. That week, each swing had a purpose. The eventual collision was getting closer with each victory. She was questioned by reporters regarding the rivalry, the handshake, and the murmurs. Eala said, "I'm not thinking about the past," with a courteous grin. "I'm considering what comes next." However, everyone was aware of the reality. Her past was what came next. And it was going to catch fire. It would soon be visible to the cameras. Soon, the fans would sense it. And the tempest Eala had been building for months was about to erupt when she stood across the net from Sabalenka once more. There was a profound silence in the Madrid arena, the kind that exists between turmoil and expectation. Every seat was packed with fans, phones out, and hearts pounding. It was finally time for the contest that everyone had been anticipating. Aryna Sabalenka versus Alex Eala. Reputation versus retaliation? Pure strength versus calm precision. You could sense the change as soon as you stepped onto the court. Eala didn't grin. Did not give a wave. Her unblinking, unfathomable gaze was fixed directly across the internet. With her racket pounding repeatedly on her thigh, Sabalenka, on the other hand, entered like a hurricane, her chest raised. She smiled briefly, the same smirk from Dubai, as if she were still in control of the situation. However, she didn't own the moment this time. The match's opening serve reverberated like a gunshot. Sabalenka started off aggressively, roaring after each point and slamming aces. Eala, however, remained unflinching. She glided with the fluidity and calmness of water. Every rally became a struggle of wills. The glare followed. Eala completed one of the opening set's longest points with a laser forehand down the line after 23 strokes of unwavering accuracy. The audience erupted. She didn't simply turn away for the first time. She was motionless, calm, and frigid as she stared directly at Sabalenka. Just that glance spoke it all. "I'm not the same Dubai girl." The cameras instantly zoomed in. In a matter of minutes, the video went viral on Twitter. According to one article, Eala simply gave Sabalenka the death gaze. "That's the look of revenge," remarked someone else. The game got more intense. Sabalenka attempted to overwhelm her, but Eala continued to take the blows and expertly return them. It was tennis masquerading as chess. Sabalenka tried to frighten her opponent by yelling and clenching her fist, but Eala's composure served as her shield. Something remarkable occurred halfway through the second set. After losing back-to-back points, Sabalenka became frustrated and slammed her racket into the clay. The crowd gasped, but Eala didn't react. Instead, she simply walked to the baseline, bounced the ball 3 times, and fired an ace down the middle, her fastest serve of the tournament. The stadium erupted, and Sabalenka stared in shock. Eala didn't celebrate. Instead, she simply nodded once, as if to say that one was for Dubai. The cameras captured every moment. The moment was replayed in slow motion by broadcasters, who referred to it as the tipping point. The anxiety had peaked by the time the last set started. Every rally felt intimate, each point like a shot-by-shot exchange between competitors. Eala broke Sabalenka's serve at 5 feet 4 inches with a scorching backhand winner that painted the line, keeping Sabalenka in the match. "Game, set, match, Eala," declared the chair umpire. The audience went crazy. Eala collapsed to her knees, not in shock but in relief. This was the result of months of training, humiliation, and quiet. Sabalenka paused as they made their way to the net. This time, there was only a quiet acknowledgement, no whisper, no sneer. Eala held out her hand in a solid, composed, almost regal manner. Sabalenka accepted it. Every aspect had cameras flashing, and as soon as they let go of their hands, Eala muttered, barely audible but captured by the sideline microphone, "Welcome back to mine." In a matter of minutes, the internet exploded. Every platform was inundated with videos captioned, "Eala's cold revenge moment." What she meant was disputed among fans. It was dubbed poetic justice by analysts. However, the significance was obvious to those who had followed the expedition. This was not conceit. It brought about closure. Eala didn't gloat or scream. With the serene contentment of someone who didn't require approval, she left the court. Because the story wasn't finished yet, and the cameras filmed redemption rather than loss this time. Because the world always has something to say when retaliation takes place on a global scale. The world went into overdrive just minutes after the last handshake. Millions of people have already uploaded, analyzed, and discussed every angle of the match, every look, every whisper, and every breath. Within an hour, the term "Eala's revenge" became viral. Videos showing her chilly gaze, slowed down and captioned with phrases like "cold," "fearless," and "queen energy," filled TikTok and Twitter. Others captured the last handshake, focusing on the precise moment she stated, "Welcome back to mine." It didn't matter that no one could agree on what she meant. It grew to be more significant than the actual game. Sports stores flourished. It was dubbed a rivalry reborn by ESPN. It was dubbed the emergence of a new cerebral titan by Tennis Channel. Players also voiced their opinions. Ons Jabeur shared a straightforward fire emoji, while Coco Gauff tweeted that she is no longer a child. Not everyone, though, was applauding. Fans of Sabalenka retaliated right away. Eala was accused of being conceited and making fun of a champion. One headline from a Belarusian publication said, "Dominance or disrespect? Eala goes too far." The story abruptly broke in two. Some fans referred to her as chilly, while others dubbed her a hero. Every time someone complimented her poise, someone else accused her of taking excessive revenge. But Eala remained mute the entire time. She didn't share anything. She remained silent. She didn't even acknowledge the sound. She went back to training the following morning as if nothing had happened, despite social media burning all around her. The world, however, refused to let go. The handshake was repeatedly replayed by analysts. Slow motion. Reading lips. Breakdowns of each frame. They made a documentary out of a whisper. In reality, what did she say? Was it prearranged? Was it strategic or emotional? The narrative took on a life of its own. Talk programs discussed her mindset. Her calmness was praised by several former players, while others cautioned her not to let pride get in the way. However, the one person who could put an end to the mayhem failed to do so. The interview with Sabalenka followed. She gave a slight smile as she sat in front of the reporters. At first, she said she played really well. When pride still aches, veterans respond diplomatically. However, the question that everyone had been waiting for was finally posed. During the handshake, did Alex Eala treat you disrespectfully? Sabalenka paused, looked down, then chuckled quietly. She expressed her thoughts. She said, "I respect that. However, she need to be aware. I also have trouble forgetting things."